I've been working with the Monport Reno 45 Pro, and it is a nice desktop CO2 laser, very budget minded, but it has a lot of the things you'd want into it over, say, the K40 M40 style. It's got the lifting bed, it's got air assist, and it works. This one works with Lightburn, has a very nice control panel through their Top Wisdom controller. There are still a few things I'd like to tweak about it, and one of them is how the honeycomb tray is fixed to the bed. Stock, it just kind of rests in there, and that works fine if you just need to drop your items in and frame it, but it makes it difficult to set up a job that you need to be able to repeat more than just the first time you run it. So I want to set up a job, run it today, and then in a week I get another order for it. It's nice to be able to set up a fixture in place that you can just put your material in and know that it's ready to go. So I'm going to try to make a solution for that. I'm going to play around with some 3D printed blocks, maybe some double-sided tape, semi-permanent, but not completely permanent if I don't like it. So if you want to see how I do that, follow along, stay tuned. I'm going to jump right into it. All right, so I've brought you in a bit closer to take a look at it. We've powered up the machine. And so this is what I'm talking about. This honeycomb just kind of sets in here and it can slide around. Now, if I want to have a repeatable cut, I need something that's fixed, that's going to hold its position relative to the machine's home point that I can then repeat. I can drop the material in and know that it's going to be going to the same position every time. So as we move this around, the working area of the laser is about the honeycomb actual area. There's maybe about a 1/4 inch extra in both directions, so not a lot of extra area to work with. So what I'm going to do is kind of take a look at where this needs to sit and see what our options are. So if we move this up into the corner, and I'm just kind of basing it off the red dot light in the corner of the honeycomb there, we bring this down, we got it a little bit crooked. We've got a little wiggle room. We could slide this back just a touch maybe. And I think to get this really dialed in, I'm going to want to get maybe get some white paper on here so we can really see that red dot. But we're going to kind of make sure that it's going to be within the bounds. And that's pretty close. Now let's take a closer look at the sides. So my thought process here is we have kind of this section, this side rail here, where we could put kind of a bracket. Same thing over here. Now up front, it's a little bit closer to that, but we could make a little bit of a corner bracket here that would maybe wrap around. It would catch the front and it would catch the side, kind of locking that in place. Unfortunately, it actually at this point is overhanging the back, and so it's going to be hard to get anything on this side holding in. So I'm going to be mostly relying on maybe some side points and then this corner point, and then we just need to make sure it's slid all the way back this way. So let's jump into the computer, see what we can design and 3D print out, and then we'll come back out here when we got the parts. All right, we're loading up a Tinkercam here, and so this should be fairly simple to make. We're going to be mostly just using some blocks here. So I'm just going to drop in a block and I'm going to create the base first. So we really just need this to be about an 1/8 inch thick, and we probably don't need it to be quite this wide. We're going to go 5/8. And what was the other dimension? The other dimension was an inch. Yeah, an inch long should be good. So I'm going to go ahead and Control C and V. We're going to copy that, and then I'm going to take this one. I'm going to rotate it up on end. There we go. And we can bring that up to the surface. And now I'm going to just simply align these two. We're going to come over to our alignment tab, and we want to go here, and that looks good. So that'd be a decent bracket, although 5/8. Yeah, let's bring this down, this one down to 1/2 inch. There we go. I don't want it sticking above the honeycomb. So that should be great for the side rails where we don't need any capture point. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that, bring this one over, but then we're going to turn this one into a solid and kind of just move that to the side for right now. All right, for this one, we want to add, we're going to be capturing on the side, so we need something to stick out this way as well. So we're just going to drop it in another box, and this one we can bring down at 1/2 inch. And we definitely don't need this as thick as that. We're going to go 1/8 inch. And we actually want it, I think we're going to anchor it over this way. Give this a nice little T shape off the side. And yeah, actually, I think that will probably work out okay. So I'm going to go ahead and combine all of these three. And about the only other thing I can say we can maybe do is take this triangle piece and I'm going to rotate this that way. And I can bring this down. This in. Where are we at here? All right. All right. That's in alignment. Now I just need to bring this down to there, and I need to bring this out to there. Then we're going to bring this to there. All right, that should be good. Now, I want to do, oops, undo that. I want to grab that and I'm going to rotate it 180 degrees. Like negative 180. I'm going to turn it into a hole. And then we're going to take these and combine them. There. It just gives it a little less of a sharp edge that's going to be hanging out there. Also a little less filament for us to use. Makes it a little more interesting anyway. So the idea is this is going to be sitting on the rail. This will capture, the honeycomb is going to sit inside of this corner. And we'll actually need to make a mirror copy of this. First, we're going to copy it. Now we will take a mirror copy this way. And now we have those two parts. I'll print out a bundle of these so we can have them to play with as well. And I'm going to send this off to the slicer. So I need to export this. Oop. It's meaning to slide this over here. All right. I'm going to go ahead and export this as, well, first off, I'm going to change the name. So we're going to go Reno Honeycomb blocks. Now we'll export it. STL, go to my downloads folder, we'll open up Bamboo Slicer, and we're going to go ahead and import. So I got to drag that file over to my downloads folder. There we go. We are going to change filament to the orange that we've got loaded into the AMS. We're going to clone that. Now we probably only need 4 total. Just that. Let's just bring this one down over here. All right, we're going to slice this. Looks like it's going to take about half an hour to get those done. So I'll send those off to the Bamboo. We'll get them printed out, and then we'll head back out to the shop.
Now, I've had a lot of people comment on, our 3D printer is really worth it in a shop. It seems like you just print out silly things you could buy at Walmart or other stores. And this is a kind of a classic example of where it is really handy to have the 3D printer. I identified something I wanted to improve in my shop, was able to design the parts, and we'll be able to drop them into the laser and make this work. So hopefully you can see this as an opportunity of why one might be useful. It doesn't need to be the more expensive A1 printer I've got here. There's the A1 Mini, which is a sub $200 printer. There are other printers out there that don't cost a whole lot, but I'll have links down below to this printer if you're interested, and consider getting one for your shop. It can definitely help make things a little bit easier for you.
All right, so got these printed out. We have the side pieces here that are just the L shape, and then the kind of the corner one that we're gonna put up front. 1/8 inch material. It's seems pretty strong at this point. This is just PLA. Just doing it as a test, and I think it should be fine as long as you're not really pressing it hard and having them too. You just want it snug. You know, it doesn't need to be like holding it tight. So. Let's zoom in on here. Let's see if we can get this aligned. And I think what I'm going to use to put these down is just some double-sided tape. It should hold fairly well, but if I need to pop them off, they will be. So I'll probably clean the frame first with a little bit of alcohol, make sure there's no dust on there. And then we'll get this positioned to start putting them in place.
So I start by just wiping down with some alcohol. We want to make sure that these are clean, otherwise that double-sided tape might not stick. So I'm going to place the honeycomb back in, and then I'm going to drop some white paper on here. It's just going to help me make sure that the red dot is showing up in the corners. I want to get this as center as I can because this laser does use almost the entire honeycomb weave area. So a little bit of adjustment to make sure it's in place, and then we can start placing our blocks.
Okay, so what I'm finding here is these little rivets on both sides are actually keeping this from kind of grabbing the corner. And so I think I may take some measurements here. I'm going to redesign it. It's also hanging over further than it needs to be, so I can probably shrink it up just a little bit. So iterations are part of this process. I'm going to go ahead and redesign those, and then we'll print them out and check it again.
All right, we're back at the computer, and I think it's a fairly easy fix. I'm going to really just, I'm going to squish this down. This doesn't need to be any higher than 1/4 inch, and then it'll capture that. And that should still grab the honeycomb, and then we can bring this side in. So hopefully here, if we just bring this down to 1/4 inch like that, we're going to need to chop off 1/4 inch off this one. So easy way to do that is just grab our little block. We are going to make this, doesn't matter really how tall that is. You just need this to be 1/4 inch. And now we can move this to there. Bring that out there. And yeah, we can just combine those. That will trim it off. That'll still give us some meat on that side. Place to stick that down. Those should be underneath the rivets on both sides. So I'm going to get rid of that one. We are going to go ahead and copy. We're going to mirror this that way. And then we'll go ahead and export this again. Bring it back into our slicer. So we're going to come back here. Don't need, oops, hold down shift. Don't need these. We're going to re-import that. And then we will, don't need that one, but I'm going to save those others just in case. So this is all we need to print at this point. I do want to, oops, let's select both of them, and we're going to change that to the orange. Go ahead and slice this. Slice looks good. It's going to take just as long to prepare as print, but 13 minutes we'll have the new parts, and we'll see if those fit.
All right, and so I did shrink down these corner pieces. They aren't very tall, but they should still work. We're primarily concerned about capturing that corner. Things aren't supposed to be moving around, so this will hopefully work. So I'm gonna get everything lined back up in here. We'll square it up, and then what I'm going to use is some of this X-Fasten double-sided tape. I'll stick it down to these sides, trim it out, and then as we get them placed, that should hold them in pretty well. There may be just, a millimeter of variance possible, depending on how well I get these in. But I think that'll hold it close enough for being able to use some jigs and fixtures. So let's zoom back in, we'll see how this gets installed. Okay, so I have it kind of squared to where the red dot anyway, where the laser is supposed to be hitting, is within the white area, which is within the honeycomb. So what I need to do now is start getting these put down along the sides. So again, I'm gonna put double-sided tape on there and probably just slide those down in there, maybe a couple on each side. And then we have our corner pieces. And so here again, I need to, on this little piece, I need to be able to get that on and into that corner as tight as possible. Again, we're going to use some double-sided tape, get that in there. Same thing over on this side. We'll drop these down in there, hopefully get them as tight into the corners, and then that should keep it in line, and these are more to keep it from sliding this way. Again, we won't have anything on the back side, but let's get the tape on, get these stuck down, see how it fits.
So this is some 1-inch tape, which works out well because I printed those out as 1 inch long. So the square ones are easy, you just kind of place it on and trim off the excess. On the corner ones, I had to do a little bit of extra trimming just to make sure that it didn't stick over. I didn't want the honeycomb sticking to this, so just taking some time, clean that out, and then we can start placing them. So pulling off the backing and then holding it in place, we want to make sure that honeycomb stays centered. And with the corner one in place, we can go ahead and drop the other ones in on the right side. I'll get both of them front and back in place. And then we will slide over to the left side, get that corner one in place. Again, just making sure we're not moving the honeycomb. And once we have all 6 in place, it should be good and secure.
All right, so now with all those in place, this isn't going to move, but I can still pull this out. Those should be out of the way of all the slats. Also, most of the pass-through, these little corners may, if I had something very wide, could possibly get in the way, but generally the bed's gonna be lower when using that pass-through. So all I gotta do is slide this down in there, notch it into the corners, and now it's not moving. So simple solution, 3D printer, few little corners, and it can slide that way, but as long as I just push this back, there's nothing that should move that around. It's going to be all locked in place. So now I can use the honeycomb weave itself to set up some jigs and alignment things. So I'm happy with how that fits. That's going to keep the honeycomb from moving around. It can slide forward, but as long as I'm aware of that and just make sure it's butted up against those front stops, this should work out great. Like I said, maybe the only thing is if I use this pass-through slot, this little red bar actually slides out of the way. It might get in the way, but I still think that the bed's gonna lower down enough that those aren't gonna be an issue. We'll just have to see in the future. Now, one of the nice things about doing this is this controller allows you to save some jobs or load jobs directly to it from USB. And as long as I do that with a known origin, I can create a fixture or jig, put in here to hold material in the right spot. I can load up the job, do a quick focus, and I don't even have to worry about framing and light burn and such. After I set it up once, I'm good to go. Same thing with running a job through light burn. As long as I'm using absolute coordinates, set up the fixture or jig in there, know that it's locked into the same origin relative to the origin or the homing point. It makes it so much easier and faster to do repeatable jobs. So we'll probably take a look at that later. I wanted to just kind of drop this video out there as I'm playing more with this laser. It is a very nice economical CO2 laser, a nice benchtop style. If you don't have a lot of space and you don't want to spend a whole lot of money, this is a nice way to get into it. But there are a few tweaks that I'm finding I want to do to make it work even better for me. So thought I would share this with you. If you're interested in the files for this, I'll have a link down below where you can grab them. They're free of charge. You just need to have someone 3D print them out. Hopefully you have your own 3D printer. You can do that. Otherwise, there are a lot of public libraries or other places that could hopefully print these out for you. And then I just used some of that X-Fasten double-sided tape, put them on there. We'll see how that holds in the long term, but that I've used many times on woodworking jigs, running acrylic on plywood and running through a router. I trust it there. I'm going to trust it here as well. So if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. If you'd like to find out more about this laser, I did just recently drop a video on making a bunch of different Christmas themed items. It is holiday season here as I'm releasing these, but I walked through using it on acrylic, thicker wood, both cutting and engraving settings and things like that. So check that out. Otherwise, leave me a comment down below what you're curious about, and I'll try to get back to that, and you'll definitely see this in some future project videos. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something, and most of all, I hope you can get out in your workshop and make something too. We'll catch you next time.